You guys are watching the Pigskin in the Mosh Pit podcast.
Pull the string.
Taking it on the chin, puts me in a primal race. Super fist, it's the mob, get on your cage. That's when I feel the power surge, and my true artistry begins.
What's up, everybody? It's BigBri. You guys are watching Pigskin in the Mosh Pit podcast as we do the first really podcast of this regular season. As game one is over, it was a pretty sad game. We're going to talk all about it. We bring in the panel. First up, from Purgatory, ex-Mushroom Head lead singer and co-founder, Mr. Jeff Hatrix. What's up, Jeff?
What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Pretty good, man. Doing good. You ready?
Yeah, let's do
All right. All right. Up next, from the Manimals, the main man, Larry the Wolf.
Ow, ow, ow.
What's up, Larry? What's happening, my man?
All right, you guys. Dig it, cats. Great to be
Yeah.
here with you guys.
And of course, we got with us Made in America, Mob Rules, Wall of Sleep, drummer, also sports writer for Cleveland.com. We got Mr. Dan Gilles. What's up, Dan?
What's up, everybody?
And we got the whole guys. Everyone's here now for the regular season. As the preseason, we had some days off, but that's what you do in the regular season. You take some days off. So how we feeling, man?
I feel like the team took too many days off. And it showed in that first game, not in the right way.
That was a rough start for a season that I think we were all pretty excited about. So I don't know. I'm not even sure where to start. A lot of times I go on a little rant and I get things going, but I don't even think that we'd have to go too far. There's so many things going on right now and being talked about as far as the Cleveland Browns go. And, it's not a secret on our show that your first love in football is the Jets. And boy, are they paralleling with the Browns in so many ways. It's unbelievable. Sometimes I can't even sometimes I see what they do and I'm like, even the scores look the same. So it's like, yeah, it's.
I watched. It's great to be with you guys tonight, and I'm glad we're all smiling in spite of the couple of
Carnage.
we had. Yeah,
Crap,
I
we watched.
and I got to tell you, I apologize to all three of you guys. I will refrain from any further predictions, prognostications. This is why
that was a good one.
I thought for sure. I really did. I was not all that confident with the Jets versus the 49ers. The 49ers are a good team, with or without Christian McCaffrey who didn't play. But I really thought, I'm not a believer in Dallas, and I thought the Browns were going to come out strong. Boy, was I wrong. I apologize. I will refrain from any further predictions for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much.
Really apologizing though. That was so terrible. What a terrible game.
It was a
It was a terrible game. So let's just talk a little bit about the game before we talk about any of the other stuff going on out there right now. But I do want to talk about the game a little bit because that's really what and there's plenty to talk about. I mean, literally, I was just talking to Jeff about this, and in my opinion, I'll just say this real quick. In my opinion, it was a complete in unison bowl of shit. It's what it was. All right. I didn't see one player that I could go and say, well, at least not one. I mean, I know Miles got a sack. I know Z got a sack, but watched them. I also watched them get dominated for a ton of that game and not even get a whiff of them. And just a lot of shit that I haven't really seen with this squad before that happened in that game. I think that the coaching was utterly atrocious. I think that they were exposed in some of their tactics and their beliefs and their ways that they got for lack of, they got pimped out in this league by these guys, by the Cowboys. And granted, the Cowboys is a regular season team. They're consistently killer. I mean, they're a great regular season team. They just don't show up in any playoff game. And so it's not as if we lost to a shitty team. And I'm not making excuses. I'm just saying, because we're supposed to be an elite team. Okay, like that's supposed to be where we're at. That's what we're talking. That's what, and that was utter shit. That was like shit. And like literally, they have a long way to go to get to anywhere near what we think that where they should be. Right? I mean, like a long way. And as far as Deshaun Watson goes, I'm just going to say, slow starter. I sure hope, because that was crap. That was crap. That was like, oh my God, crap. Now that's just my opinion. I want to go around the horn and hear what you guys think. Just the overall opinion of that game. That game was shit. That's my opinion. I'm going to go with shit. Jeff, what's your opinion of that game overall?
I feel like DeJuan Jones may have regressed there, and maybe it's just because he hasn't played in a while. I feel like the other tackle, he's practice squad in my opinion. And then maybe it's because the line wasn't doing any good, but Jerome Ford, to me, how do you hesitate on every single run? Why did they sign Foreman? I mean, they're saying, yeah, he's a goal line back, but I believe he would have done much better in the whole body of the game. I feel like game 3 or 4, they might start to look okay. Right now, they don't look good at all.
No, but you still have good hope though. This is game 1, and we don't want to overblow it. Would that be your?
Yeah, I mean, people were kind of going through the motions. I mean, maybe the muscle memory is off at this moment because Njoku, till that play got hurt, he looked like he wasn't. His mind wasn't even on what he was doing. He let Parsons bolt right past him like a saloon door, like our old offensive tackles. Not that he's a tackle, but I know everybody's got to go out and become a pass catcher, but he could have changed that play had he been a little more than waving at him as he went by. I mean, everybody seems pretty off. I mean, I remember the first Brissett game was very, very similar, and that game last year against the Bengals, it was a terrible weather, and somehow we did better than Burrow, but maybe he was already hurt. It's just, I mean, maybe they'll get there eventually this season, but they're far from it now.
Dan, what's your assessment?
So my optimism went away when I saw that Turnstile Hudson was going to be the starting left tackle, and that both Conklin and Jed Wills weren't going to be playing. And I'm like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, because they got a great line. They got a great defensive line. There's no question about that.
And it was like, not just him. I mean, he was garbage. He always has been garbage. But DeJuan Jones looked like he was just like immovable. Like slow to move, slow to get out of his stance. He was just getting his ass kicked. The whole line, no one's really talked about losing Bill Callahan and the impact of that. And they're hiring Andy Dickerson as the line coach. Now, granted, Andy Dickerson has a good track record, but when you see the line perform that atrociously, and all the false start penalties and the illegal formations and the illegal shifts, I mean, it was atrocious. I mean, and I don't. It's the low hanging fruit is to just dump on Watson, and he played like dump. And I've been a Watson guy for a long time. He played like shit. But I would venture to say most quarterbacks playing behind that line would probably struggle. Dak Prescott didn't look very well, but he won. He was throwing some air balls up, and he just signed that fat contract too. So I mean, you know, I just as a whole, Watson, Ford, Cooper dropped that easy touchdown pass right in his hands. Njoku, Elijah Moore, the whole line, the defense, the secondary just was getting torched. It's like, if special teams giving up a fucking punt return, come on now.
Yeah, it was bad. There's no part of this game where you can really say there was a redeeming factor. It just sucked. Top to bottom, front to back, left to right, wherever the fuck you go, it was bad. It just was bad. Okay, before I get to Larry real quick, I want to bring in our guest. Eric Elkins has made it in. He's figured it out. He's figured it out. Eric,
Nice.
I tell you,
Hey.
how's it going,
what's
man?
up, fellas? Every time I try to join this show, I have friggin' issues. I'm
Now,
a tech.
this is always an interesting thing right now because in Cleveland, there's really 2 Maiden tribute bands, right?
Yeah, and I'm not in either one of them.
No.
Not any longer.
Oh, really?
No.
What the hell happened there? We'll get into that's another podcast.
I fired myself.
Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't even know that.
Quit. Yeah. We had a parting of the ways, if you will.
Well, anyways, it's still in an X1 and a current one. That's still somehow there's some kind of coolness between there.
That's all right. We all love Maiden.
It covers Maiden.
Oh, yeah.
It covers Maiden thoroughly, at least the nickel part. All right. So what we're talking about real quick, and I'm gonna ask Larry this again, but we're talking about real quick just your assessment of this shithole game that we watched on Sunday. So just an overall judgment. But I'm gonna get back to Larry's. I do want to hear Larry. Did you watch the game, Larry? Did you get to watch the whole Browns game?
I watched the majority of it, and I was switching. I watched 3 games, a good part of, and that was because of the live stream here with you guys in the show. I want to be prepared to watch some. So
yeah. I
watched some of Pittsburgh versus Atlanta. I watched Browns and Dallas until I got sick of it. And then last night I wasted 3/4 of my life, the equivalent, watching that garbage that I watched last night with the 49ers and the Jets.
Yeah.
So again, I'm completely agnostic towards the Browns in terms I'd like to see them do well. I made a bad prediction they were going to win, and it wouldn't be close, and clearly I was wrong. On September 4th, when asked whether he still considers himself one of the league's elite quarterbacks, Watson answered, "Of course, no doubt."
I know.
Let me ask you a question. Did you guys see an elite quarterback the other day?
No.
I didn't see one. I haven't seen one since he's been here.
No.
So, it's automatically the kiss of death on something when you're proclaiming yourself, when you haven't had a quality season since 4 years ago, either between injury or whatever. Okay, well, you haven't. How does anybody who hasn't won jack shit of a championship and hasn't, been able to play through injury for 4 seasons still consider themselves elite?
Yeah.
What in PFF or in fantasy points?
In
Who
payment
cares about that shit?
and how he gets paid.
Nerds.
It's
It's just I watched it and this makes me when do you see a great leader on when Jeff was making the thing about they didn't lack of preparation. They're professionals.
Yeah.
Okay, every team has this same shit. Last night, I'll say it. Robert Saleh's a terrible coach. He's a defensive mind. The defense got blown out last night. They got wrecked. And they've got some great players. They got the best corner in the league with Sauce Gardner. Keenan Williams is an excellent defensive tackle. Who cares? I don't care how many All-Pros. They stunk. They weren't prepared. That falls on the coach, but that falls on the players themselves. They're grown men that have to be coached up to play well when they're paid what they're paid. They've worked their whole life towards this. They were ill-prepared. It was just, I saw no leadership. A guy who's worth 3 picks and all the other shit first round, he better come in and part the seas like Moses and step up and lead them.
Yeah,
Seriously, when Baker made, here they are. BigBri, to your point earlier, what was it, 2018 draft. The Jets are supposed to take Broadway Baker. The Browns hucklebuck him, and they take Baker Mayfield. So the Jets take Sam Darnold 2 picks later, the number 1 and the number 3. And both of these teams, because they're terrible at developing young quarterbacks that they draft them high, throw them on the garbage heap so they can go excel somewhere else. Oh, by the way, Sam Darnold and the Baker Mayfield were laughing with their wins yesterday with the Buccaneers and with the Vikings, while the Jets and the Browns stunk up the joint.
Listen, dude, there's no way to argue one fucking thing you just said. I honest to God, 100% true.
Facts.
And another thing is when you see other quarterbacks who aren't anything can step in on a team and actually lead a team at least down the field on a regular drive to a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, you see it all the time. So there's no excuse for anybody when they can't do that, in my opinion. And on a consistent basis, it gets old. Like the whole story with him, I backed him, I back him. I don't know. But it gets old after a while. It really does wear you down to the point where you're like, all right. It's like you're almost to a point where you're like, all right, we have to now move on. We have to, just for the sake of everything it just didn't work out. I mean, for what it's worth, that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at, especially when the new allegations come out, because I truly believe now that this is never going to stop. So now that I firmly believe that the allegations aren't going to stop, then now it's almost like it's time to realize that it's time to get out.
Yeah,
it's time to get out because there's going. Eric, go ahead, give us your assessment on this game.
Oh, the game itself?
Yeah,
trash. I didn't watch much, to be honest. But
well, at least you're on.
Sorry about that. I wish I'd watched more,
No, you don't. No, you don't. You're no, you don't.
Yeah, it just looked like sloppy all around. The defense.
It's a train wreck.
Was the biggest disappointment. I thought the offense was going to be slow and kind of sluggish, but
that wasn't what it was. It was an absolute disaster. It really was.
By the time they started to, kind of slow them down a little bit defensively, it was just too late. They were down 27-3, and like Dan said, you give up a friggin' punt return for a touchdown. Come on, man. It
was terrible.
No fundamentals. I think just and another thing too, they're all professionals. They're all getting paid a bunch of money, and it's like play for some friggin' pride too.
Well, I do want to get to that because one of the things, unfortunately, when it comes to Deshaun Watson, and obviously right now we have to talk about him because obviously he's back in the fucking news again for all the fucked up reasons. But
right.
Here's the thing about him that and it's not about ability because I think me and Jeff were on the same page on a lot of this. You don't just suck all of a sudden, especially when you're in your prime ages and stuff like that. When age isn't a factor, guys just don't lose it. So the only thing that can happen is you could lose your heart, and that does happen. And don't tell me it's about money, because money doesn't steal your heart, because Mahomes' heart is still out of fucking control, and that guy's getting paid more than any fucking body. That has nothing to do with it. Money has nothing to do with why you play football. Okay, they're all rich beyond our imagination. So that's not what it is. This dude is his heart into it, because here's what I think. I think that if I was just given $250 million and then I haven't played football in like 3 years afterwards, whether I'm in rehab or whatever, but I'm still getting this payment, I'm still making this money, getting back into that sport, I'll bet ain't as easy as you think. It's a tough sport, man. I've been living the billionaire life for the last 3 years and going and doing my workout, and now you want me to go back and do that shit again? Are you fucking kidding me? And that's what I get from him. Like, this game ain't for him no more. And he don't play like he's into it no more to me. Like, he doesn't have that. I can't else describe it any other way than that.
Factor.
I'm not buying it anymore. Let me just put it like that. Like, I've lost the buying part of it. I have. So,
BigBri, I think what you're describing would have been called 10 years ago the Albert Haynesworth effect.
Please explain.
Albert Haynesworth was picked up by the Redskins at the time for a $100 million contract, defensive tackle. Excellent player, came in, absolutely stunk the joint up and took their money. Because $100 million guaranteed, whatever that was, 10, 11 years ago, that was, I think, one of Dan Snyder's first moves. That was a lot of money in that day. I mean, now that's handed out like candy. Yeah. That was a lot of money at that time. And he came in and was stunk. He was terrible. Came in out of shape, had no passion for the game.
Yeah, and I think that Watson's playing, like his whole thing is I do believe that he rehabs hard. I believe all that stuff. I believe, why wouldn't he? I mean, like there's nothing to all that stuff. If in the end he just figures, I mean, does he even think that he's going to be good when he goes in there, or is it all just fucking bullshit with him?
Can you hear me at all? Is my mic working?
I hear you. I
I fully 100% disagree.
All right, I want to hear that, Jeff, please.
We went through what was wrong. We have no offensive line. We have no running game. But they still ran forward first and second down multiple series. Go back to last year. Let's go back to 2 years ago. He inherits the team at 4-7. Many of the players already mailed the season in at 4-7. And then last year, he's 4-1 at least. And just like Hoyer years ago got the win he started, even though the other guy won the game, he got the win because he started. So they were calling him 5-1. Arden Key wasted his shoulder. He beat Baltimore by himself in the second half of that game with this wasted shoulder. The guy will play through anything. Baker did that and blew and was thought of so little they traded for Watson. So it's not about Watson doesn't want to do this and he suddenly sucks because he doesn't. Last year, had he not lost his health, we would have been probably playing for the Super Bowl because he was steadily getting better. That Baltimore game was like what would have kept coming, and he was playing at a very high level. He's probably the quarterback of the week that week. It is not about his heart's gone. It's that this team did not play in the preseason, and they fucking suck right now. The team. Watson
the team does suck.
Watson can only do what Watson can do. If he's getting beat up on every play, which he did, what's he supposed to do? Suddenly be Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're elite, you become Superman.
Yeah, great. If you have no time, you can't.
Jeff, that's respectfully, that's the song that these two teams sing left and right about every quarterback who doesn't play is they have no time. There's a bunch of teams with bad offensive lines.
That's great. This one had no protection against that defense. We'll win games this year. Guarantee it.
Absolutely. This is not a winless. This is definitely not a winless team.
They'll
No.
probably still win at least 10.
I don't know.
I'll say it right now.
Yeah, and again, I'll say it like, you're talking about the 3 games you watched, Larry, and they were Pittsburgh. I watched that game. I watched the Browns game. I pretty much watched the whole thing.
6 field goals.
Because I didn't want to get up and leave my seat. I was sick. And that was it. I watched those 2 games. I didn't watch the game last night. But that Pittsburgh game was an interesting game. Because again, here I go again. I'm watching this fucking mediocre Pittsburgh team. And they're mediocre. Still.
Watch.
And somehow that fucking team, no matter what, finds a way somehow to walk away with a win. They don't care how. They don't give a shit how. They don't care. Like one thing about Cleveland, I will say is their fans are a little finicky for what we have gotten. Some people are like, well, I don't want to win that way. Like, wait.
Yeah.
Wait, there is no such thing in my life. Okay. Like I want to win, period. That's why I backed Watson. I mean, I don't give a shit about what the guy's been accused of. It don't matter to me. I don't care. Just go out there and throw for 400 yards and win the fucking game, or throw for 10 yards and win the fucking game. Kick 6 field goals and win the fucking game. I don't give a fuck how you win the game. Win the game. That shit the other day, that was unreal. You couldn't beat St. Ed's with that team the other day. It was unreal. I couldn't even believe what I was watching.
BigBri.
Yes.
There's an old quote that I know a lot of other coaches have copied off of, but it was Bill Parcells who said a number of years ago, "You are what your record says you are." Okay.
Yes.
Good teams win ugly, and they win the games they're not supposed to win. Yesterday, the Bills did, or Sunday, the Bills did it. The Dolphins figured out how to do it, and the Patriots figured out how to do it in the AFC East. They all won games they look like they might lose in there, or 2 out of 3 of them. They won ugly. They just did it. Oh, they do it over and over again, and nobody cares, to your point, because it's a W at the end of the day.
Yeah, and to
you
just
win the games you're supposed to win, even if they're ugly.
Now, to Jeff's point on this factor, I will give Jeff credit on this one because I do believe that's about preparedness, and I believe that's coaching, and I believe that your players are at least playing well enough to not fuck the game all up and give it away to the other team, the way the Browns literally on every level, every aspect of the game, from special teams on down, every single thing, they just could not help themselves. They just couldn't help themselves. They were terrible. And there was definitely, you were watching a team, and who knows even who to blame. I mean, you got all these new coaches. I mean, obviously Stefanski is the top. He's the guy that but it's like, what happened? I mean, was it all Callahan? Is it? I mean, and what happened to the fucking defense? I mean, that was not the defense I watched last year. That wasn't the same fucking one. It wasn't the same defense. What happened? What happened, guys?
Hopefully, Mike Vrabel is letting them all have it right about now, because he's the consultant, and the guy's not going to sit there and be like, "No, you guys are great."
Yeah, he needs to go. Is he the one that's in charge of lighting up the coaches when they fuck up? Because
I believe
that would be cool. You know, that would be such a cool thing to find out if that one was. Now, and the Browns are not that clever to have that kind of guy in their fucking.
So, can I ask a question? Since you mentioned defense, we worked on the offense for a second.
Yeah.
If you guys just judged it on one game, just one game, and you had no feelings, you put your emotion aside. Would you rather have Micah Parsons on your team or Myles Garrett, based on Sunday's game?
Micah Parsons played a way better looking game.
Micah Parsons.
But I will say this: they play Micah Parsons in a way that they don't do Garrett, and I'm not sure that Garrett couldn't do what Micah Parsons does. They just don't play him like that. They play Garrett much more of a straight up pass rusher. I'm watching that Micah Parsons, dude. That fucking guy's all over the field. I mean, they line him up all over the place. Like he's
like T.J. Watt. He's a linebacker more than a.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy. They use him everywhere, man.
But regardless, you can put him everywhere.
Yeah,
I mean, they were lining up Garrett, trying to get him places. They were trying to find weak spots with him.
He's incredibly impressive. He's incredibly impressive. Dude,
I still stick with Garrett. Sorry,
dude. Listen, I'll tell you right now. Holy shit, the quarterback eludes me right now. What's his name for Dallas?
Dak Prescott.
He was great. I mean, he had poise. He wasn't like he was. I mean, he was fucking good. I was like, you know.
He threw a lot of helium balls that he got away with.
Yeah,
CeeDee Lamb's no slouch either.
No,
dude, they got a hell of a receiver. He was
ranked first of the whole NFL in a bunch of categories.
I know, dude. He's just chiseled, and he's just fucking like, oh Jesus Christ. I don't know. It was a tough game, man. It was a tough game. That's why we do the podcast. I like to hear everyone's opinion.
And think about it. Dallas had 12 wins the last 4 years.
Well, that's what I said. This is a great team.
They weren't going to come in and lay down.
Yeah, people think Dallas sucks. Dallas just sucks as soon as it matters.
They just get in the playoffs. They're a regular season team.
Yeah, they suck. They're one of the best regular season teams there are. Period. They are. Then they suck. That's Prescott's. That's the thing. And interestingly enough, I think that's funny how Prescott is now taking over the lead now for.
Yeah, you got dollar more over 4 years instead of 5.
Jerry was like, I will not be outspent. So now. Yeah, so we got.
He spent.
Yeah, $231 million, right? That's what they guaranteed him, right?
Yep.
Just to give it the $1 million, and that's so. And I got to be honest, that's so pathetic. Like that was so important to you. I have to be just $1 million more. I mean, really. Anyways, that's just my opinion, I guess, but I think that's pathetic.
Yeah,
that's Jerry Jones for you.
Yeah,
that's just the way he is.
Yeah, it is kind of crazy too. All that stuff that went on there. Now, so here we go. I want to ask you guys some questions here. This is like about what was really brought up yesterday and today about. So you got another woman here accusing him. More allegations coming up. This time it's sexual assault. It is still a lawsuit. This is a civil case. This is not a legal criminal situation. But it turns out that if the Browns, when they did sign him to this guaranteed money, they did have an out in the fact that if he was to be charged with something else along the lines where they didn't include it in the original thing, or he didn't disclose it to the team as a possible case in the future, then they would have an out in the contract. And there I go. I'm gone. All right, I'll be back in a second.
I'll jump in on this.
All right, wait, hold on. So they would have an out in the contract, right? Am I right so far? What I'm saying?
That's what I've heard. Yeah, is that there's a clause in the contract that if he were to get arrested or something like that, that they could conceivably void the rest of the years, void the rest of the money, and wash their hands of them and be done. Right. And I'm sure the NFL would probably throw the hammer down on a suspension anyways. because they've already suspended him 11 games. They wanted to suspend him a whole year, so they would probably be like, okay, fuck you, you're done.
That's what I'm saying. So, and here's my point. It's my point I'm going to make here. It's not even so much about his play, because the only real ability is availability, right? I mean, that's a saying you hear. That's because it's the most truthful thing. And if this is going to continue to happen, and it could, I don't care what anyone tells me.
It actually is also from 2020. It didn't continue to happen. This is probably Busby. This is probably Busby holding on to one.
I agree, but this guy, dude, I agree with you. But this guy can do it. He can do it. He's doing it. And again, it's the week after. It's the day after the first week of the NFL. It's the time to drop.
The timing's impeccable.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's doing it. Yeah, I just, my point is I think I just don't see this stopping. I just don't see it going away. So again,
it's not a new offense. That's the part that I'm having an issue with. This is another case from 2020.
I know, but that's true. Except here's the thing.
And there were no criminal charges. She never went to the authorities.
Yeah.
She just went to the ambulance.
We didn't
try to get paid.
We didn't get him the first time. Let's go back and hurt him now. That's what,
of course,
what this is.
Okay, but of course that's what this is. That's not my point, though. My point is that I'm not looking at this. I don't care about the legal system here. I know it's a fucking mess. What I'm trying to say is this isn't going to go away. From a Browns perspective, this guy's always going to have this going on because that's what's going on over there. Busby's got a money train going on, if you want to look at it that way, or maybe Watson was doing all this shit. I don't know.
No, nobody really does. Nobody really does. And the fact that it's a civil case is that no one would pick it up criminally.
I think it's a problem. I think it's a problem for a football team if their quarterback is constantly under allegations, whether they're
for a couple of years.
Yeah, it's not going to go away now.
Mary Kay Cabot today said that what the Browns want is for him to play good.
Well, I did see that, and I do agree. I think that if you're going to, because that's what you bought, that's what you paid for. But has he? Yes. Has he played good?
There's two things.
I know he's had good games last year. I know.
Yes, he did.
I know.
A team is also a part of it.
I agree, dude.
You could have the greatest quarterback in the world, Kansas City, if they had no line like that, if they had a terrible running back like that, they're not going to win as easily.
All right, so I will say this: there's no way. The one thing about this whole conversation is that you do get to prove it or not. Not you, but the team will prove it or not prove it because Watson's not going anywhere. I don't care what anyone says; he's not going anywhere as long as that guy's limbs are attached to his body and they can work. He's going to be out there being our quarterback every single week.
And what are we all going to say if he ends up lighting it up and they win?
I'm not going to say nothing. I'm just saying right now, dude, from this point backward, I was disgusted. I was disgusted with him as much as anybody else. Dude, I watched that game too. He was terrible like the rest of us. And if you're agreeing with me and saying, yeah, they were all terrible because their coaching staff thought it was such a fucking great idea to play nobody at all.
What another thing is? He was going to play in that last preseason game, and he had something going on in the arm that just had surgery. And maybe he's taking it a little slow till he has full confidence in his arm.
Now, I agree with this because I think there might be a lot of that going on in this whole entire team right now where you have a lot of guys that have come back from injuries, and they're just not ready to just throw guys in there right now. They're scared to death of all these injuries again. I mean, that could be it too. I don't know, man. I don't know, but I know
he's in a walking stage right now, and
you can't give games away though. You just can't.
Games. I mean, the whole team gave the game away.
I know, but you can't do that as a coach. As a head coach, you can't give the game away by just saying, "Well, I don't want to see anybody get hurt, so I'm going to give this game away so that my guys don't get hurt." That's almost what we're looking at. I mean, am I wrong? Dan, help me out here. Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong. Well, injuries are a part of the game. They just are, and you just gotta. I played football. You just gotta let it. You just gotta let it all out. And if you fucking break your ankle, then you break your ankle. I mean,
so Dan,
you can't really. Yeah.
Do you think at all that they should have just played Jameis that game and let Deshaun work his way into being fully ready?
No, I think Deshaun should have started. If he's ready to start, if he's healthy and they give him a clean bill of health, then yeah, he deserves to start that game. Yeah. And that goes for Garrett. That goes for any of them. You know,
he's going to start that game as much money as he's getting paid. You know, it's like, dude, get out there and play. You know,
it isn't even to me. It isn't even about that. Is he fully ready?
I get.
Was it okay? Let me ask you this.
I mean, think about last.
That's an interesting comment.
Think about last season. He came back before he was ready, and then.
Well, that's an interesting comment.
Before the hit that took him out for the year. I mean, he probably should have waited a game before he came back. I mean,
let me ask you this though.
It was like Baltimore or something like that.
Let me ask you: if you're getting paid $230 million guaranteed, does that mean that they'll rush you back, or does that mean they'll take longer to bring you back? Which one would it be? I mean, like you're obviously a pretty expensive commodity. You kind of want to gingerly bring you along. You don't want to rush you out there. However, paying a lot for this hot rod, I want to drive it. So, like, what is it? What do you think it is with this one? Well, like, maybe he was brought back too soon. Could that be why they didn't play him? And and blah 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 all the shit we were hearing all preseason, and then maybe it was all bullshit. Maybe his shoulder.
I don't think it was all bullshit. I mean, you could hit a wall a little bit as far as it not being all the way back yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I know
strength-wise, you mean?
I know he probably wanted to play. I think the arm will get better as the season goes on, no matter what.
Well, you know, and maybe it's refreshing to see a guy like Aaron Rodgers suck. Like he kind of sucked. Actually, he wasn't. I mean, he didn't suck as bad as fucking Watson, but he still didn't look anything like Aaron Rodgers. And I think if you don't play football for a long time, you're in the NFL. I don't know how you're going to just not suck.
Well,
in some way, right?
Well, to that point, though, Brian, what happened was, and I'm not making any excuses for Rodgers because he's a 40-year-old man coming off a ruptured Achilles.
I agree.
And he played. Now, what they also, and it's funny because the Jets fans are just absolutely roasting the Jets. They've had it. There is none of the Cleveland, and you know, no offense, guys, there's none of the Cleveland trying to find the silver lining. They've had it. They want everybody fired. The vast majority. They want Salah out. They want what the hell's his name? Hackett. They want Hackett out because he was terrible last year. They want. They're just pissed at everything. But we'll say, I did see a graphic or a stat on this. The Jets' time of possession was 21-28. They said it is the lowest time of possession that Rodgers ever had in his career in a game.
Wow.
Because the defense got trampled yesterday without Christian McCaffrey. And I'm going to tell you, Brock Purdy, who's the lowest paid starting quarterback in the league, looked like fucking Joe Montana and Tom Brady combined yesterday. And they got a good line. The guy was unbelievable, and he should have been the MVP last year.
Yeah.
But there's reasons for that.
But Jordan Mason, the undrafted jabroni, looks like Christian McCaffrey doesn't even matter. You know, he had the biggest game as an NFL runner this year. They just trust. So Rodgers was I'm watching the game, and he looked great for one drive. They went down the field, and he was never on the field again. And when he was on the field again, he threw a pick that was a deflection on a great play from San Francisco. That guy, who's the linebacker for Fred Warner?
Yes, Fred Warner. Fred Warner was destroying them early in the game. He was just everywhere. Guy was just blowing plays up left and right. And Bosa was getting held. I got to say, Bosa was getting held left and right. He had one of the Jets linemen choking him. Finally, he had his hand up underneath his chin, his hand around his neck, like the Undertaker get ready to do a power slam. And that finally got called. No, but I'm seriously, I'm a Jet fan. I'm telling you. They got their asses blown out yesterday. I don't even know if I could say that anything good or bad about Rodgers because he was barely on the field.
But I know they took him out. Yeah,
it wasn't good.
Yeah, and again, the Jets had a great defense. I mean, their defense was pretty fucking good, man. And
last year.
Yeah, and again,
as Marcel said, you are what your record says you are. I don't care.
Well, and every year is different.
And who beat who and how many times.
It is true. I mean, it is true.
It's stratomatic baseball shit and fantasy football shit.
It is true. It's stratomatic, dude. Oh my god.
Stratomatic baseball.
It's stratomatic. Let me get my
Wow.
calculator and add up my fingers how my RBIs are working and my average ERA. I don't care about that stuff. If I did, I'd watch baseball. I like statistics. When my team stinks, I look at who's the best, who's leading the sacks, and who's got this and who's got the because you look for those little booby prizes and consolation prizes when you're not in the big dance. I get it. I understand that. But aren't these two teams like 100? As I've said, 100 combined seasons. They can't even get there again.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just tired. I don't want. And then guys who we both cast aside are off laughing and getting victories.
It's true.
Yeah. Good on them.
And then you got to deal with all the people, locals that are like, I told you. Baker, yeah, look at him. Oh my god! Every time I hear the B word, I just want to just smash someone's fucking face.
Yeah. I mean, look, you can't have hatred for those guys. I don't hate Sam Darnold or Geno Smith. Geno Smith's still.
I don't either. I don't hate for what it's worth. I don't hate Watson. For what it's worth, let me just make one point about Watson. Here's what I'm gonna say about Watson. They asked Watson to come to Cleveland, and he said, "Fuck no." They said, "All right." Then they're not going to go to Cleveland. And then Baker finds out. Then they find out Baker's not going to play. And then they panic. And then they're like, $230 million to go to Cleveland. Then he was like, oh, okay, for that, I'll go to Cleveland. This is how it transpired, right? I mean, is this not what happened? So yeah. So when you're talking about that, I don't blame Watson. This isn't something where I'm like, you swindled us. Right. Or you tricked us, or any of that shit happened. That dude told us no, and we didn't accept no. That's what really happened. Like that. That's why I don't hold him to the flame. Like I hold him to playing football. That's one thing. But as far as like, oh, well, we're paying you money, so you should do this. It's like the dude was like, no. And then they're like, oh, we'll give you all this money. He's like, all right. I mean, like it's such a Haslam move. And I hate to say that because it's nice to have an owner that will spend money. That is, but sometimes he just done some things that's really fucked up some shit. And I think that was one of them. And that's my opinion.
And what drives me crazy today, some guy was on the radio and he talked about Watson and said the Browns deserve all this that they're getting because they signed him, but 13 other teams wanted to sign him.
I know, but nobody was going to put up what he did.
But we're the assholes. I mean
that's true.
Everybody else wanted to sign him. 13 other teams.
They were
gonna put up with all of it.
I don't blame anybody for doing that shit, dude. I don't blame anybody for wanting Watson. I don't.
But we don't deserve.
If you think that I don't believe that at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm not saying we deserve it. I'm saying that's what happened. I'm just stating facts, dude. Haslam definitely created that deal. That was not something that was concocted by Andrew Berry or any of those other people.
That was all Jimmy.
Yeah, that was.
That's why Baker was jettisoned because Jimmy wants to win. He spends the money like he wants to win.
I agree. I don't think Baker was going to be the guy, even if they don't get Watson. I don't think they were going to sign Baker to that long deal.
They were done with him.
I really don't think that was going to happen.
It was a two-sided locker room. Like he has supporters and he had people that hated him 100%.
Yeah, I don't think that he was coming back no matter what. And for those of you people that keep talking about Flacco,
I was just gonna jump in here from this.
Yeah, let me just go ahead. You know what? I'm gonna let you take over that. Go ahead. And anybody else wants to talk about this, go ahead. I'm tired of hearing about it. I really am. Go ahead.
I am so sick and tired of people wanting Joe Flacco back. He's 40 years old, wearing a baseball hat, holding a clipboard in Indianapolis. He ain't playing. Don't fucking bring him up anymore.
Yeah.
And I mean, do you want to win in the playoffs? Let's get some more interceptions. I mean,
yeah, he cost us the playoff game.
Yeah.
Joe Texas. Hello. How blind are you? Come on, Browns fans. I know you fucking, are irrational as fuck. But Joe Flacco, enough. I'm tired of it. Come on now.
Dude. I can't. I hear. I can't. Where's Joe Flacco? Why don't we sign Joe Flacco? Why
We need Joe Flacco back.
Flacco.
And come on, Jacoby.
Brissett.
Yeah.
The most popular guy in Cleveland's the backup quarterback of the Browns every freaking year.
I've told you guys previously. There's a reason why the Jets had a need for quarterback last year, and they didn't care to keep Flacco because they had him for a few years. And he came out and he had the 4-game miracle that was wonderful for you guys. Yeah. And you got to look at that and say, thank God we had the guy. Okay,
yeah, it was fun.
But,
it was a lot of fun last year.
It was fun.
Oh, man.
It was. And he knew it. It was a great ride for you all, and that was great. But there's a reason why they were starting Zach Wilson and let him go, and White, the young guy they let go to Miami that got cut again. Mike White. Yeah, I mean, Flacco was on this. They knew he just, again, good guy, but he wasn't going to do that for a whole. He couldn't sustain that for a season. You got a great miracle month out of him, which was terrific. But BigBri, the thing you were talking about earlier about the cost of stuff, I don't think anybody argues the cost on shit. The Jets have a holdout right now, Hassan Reddick. He came over as a free agent. They let a guy go, Bryce Huff.
Yep.
Free agency, thinking they're getting this great player who's been an all-pro, and the guy doesn't want to play now, and he wants 20. I don't know. He wants 24, 25, 26, whatever he wants. Years ago, when Reggie White left the Eagles, I have the Sports Illustrated. He's standing on the front cover like this, and he's got the helmets of a whole bunch of teams all circling, all the suitors.
The Browns are one of them.
Yeah, and the Jets were too. And he kept talking about, I want to go to the place that I can do the most good in the community. I want to do the most difference in the community. Guess where he went? He went to the place that paid him the most money.
Highest bidder.
Yeah.
Okay, and nobody faults, rest in peace, Reggie White. I mean, Reggie White could do no wrong. I got an old tape of him where Jerome
He was
Brown
basically a priest.
And Monday Night Football, they say, oh, look at Reggie White made that sack. Like Jerome Brown. Clyde Simmons made that play. What are you talking about?
Yeah, Reggie White was on the sideline.
Love with him, and he was a great player. But even he went with him. Nobody faults the player from being paid what they can get paid.
Yeah, I mean,
and the exception I've taken, just to clarify, was I would never in 100 years give 3 number 1 picks plus the other shit for anybody.
No.
They better walk in and they better put the whole damn thing on their back and carry it up the mountain to the Super Bowl like Joe Namath did 54 years ago. If they can't do that, forget it.
Yeah, I just think that it was a crazy scenario that
the money is always there for everybody.
And Jimmy's got lots of it. He's got tons of it.
They can all come up with the money. They restructure. It's a Rubik's Cube of cap hit. And, I was looking up something when you talk about it. The Browns are pretty much stuck with this quarterback for the next several years. They would face $172 million in dead cap hits if they cut him in 2025 and $99 million if they do so in 2026. Both would set a new record for the most dead money incurred in NFL history.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous.
So that's right. I mean, that's what I mean. So you got to hope for the best,
or you try to find a way out with this new case. You try to get out from under that contract. Just saying. I'm not. Listen, I'm just throwing it out there as a possibility right now. It's a possibility.
If he sucks against Jacksonville, there'll probably be a lot more of like, hey, let's see if this case has any legs.
Speaking of Jacksonville, so real quick, we're running out of time. And Larry, are you going to do any? You got your 1972? You got it with you? All right, I'll give you a couple minutes there at the end. Give me a minute. We'll be right. We'll do that in a couple minutes. I do want to get to that. But what I want to talk about a little bit is this upcoming game. Just a minute, and I want to get Eric involved in this because he's been patiently just sitting there, just chilling with us. And but Jacksonville's coming up, and they're kind of one of them teams expected to make the playoffs, I guess you could say, kind of on the cusp. With Lawrence, they got the quarterback, so it's like, what do you guys think? You guys think we're going to Jacksonville? What are you guys thinking about this, Eric? You got any good feelings about Sunday? You feeling good, or how you?
For the Browns. No,
it's not looking good in your opinion, you're thinking?
I don't have any faith in this team right now. They got to prove me wrong, I guess. But I think it's lose. I don't have a score in my head, but You know, I don't
I mean, do you think it's going to resemble anything that just happened this past Sunday, or do you think it'll be at least better than that?
I hope it's going to be a closer game, cleaner game, no penalties. No, realistically, I just hope it's a good game. I don't expect to win, though, to be honest. Not until Deshaun Watson starts playing like an elite quarterback, you know.
Okay, that's good. That's fair. I like that. I mean, that's pretty much how I think everyone kind of feels that on some level.
Let's
right?
get the offensive lineman back too, hopefully soon.
Jeff, how are you feeling about Sunday?
The offensive linemen are the factor. If Jack Conklin back, or doubt it's going to happen, maybe Jed, but without them, it all starts with them as far as I'm concerned, and not playing Jerome Ford anymore. I'd rather see Strong or Foreman.
I'll tell you, I think it's weird in Cleveland watching a line with no tackles kind of operate. Like, that's kind of what it was like watching Sunday, where it was like you just have, like your center is great, like the three guys in the middle. But I was even seeing Bitonio. I'm telling you guys, I don't give anyone a pass. Everybody played like shit on Sunday. I don't care who the fuck they were. Everybody I saw do things that I'm like, wow, man. Did I just see Bitonio get beat by that dude? I mean, it was weird. It was a weird day.
That loss.
I feel like they just can't figure out how to block for Watson because he moves around. Like, I think Teller even said something about it. We had him a good pocket and he starts moving, and they don't know how to adjust almost.
So only Houston knew how to block for Watson, and
they were playing knowing they had that quarterback. Like,
but isn't that why?
Stefanski, every quarterback that's succeeded with them is in that other realm of I'm a stationary passer. Like
Game
Flacco
manager.
succeeded because he is statuesque. He isn't running around the way Watson does.
No, I understand what you're saying. I do.
I think that's part of the real issue.
The line is definitely an issue. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you at all because their running game was atrocious. I don't even know that you can blame the running back all the time for the running game when there's nowhere to run.
I mean, if you're like 2nd and 8 or whatever it is, then third down is like a long way. Like, they started every series with a run, it seemed like, and
then a penalty right after that.
Yeah,
that's
illegal shift, illegal formation,
coaching, all ill preparedness, all that kind of stuff. That's what we were watching galore.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, Dan. In like 2.5 minutes, what's your prediction for? What are you thinking? Sunday.
I'll take the glass half full approach, as I sometimes do. I do think that they're going to bounce back. They have to, but I think a lot. They seem like they do better when people doubt them. Like they believe their own hype, they drink their own Kool-Aid, and all of a sudden they kind of fold. When people kind of shit on them, then they're like, oh, well, fuck you then. And all of a sudden, Myles Garrett gets 4 sacks and Watson throws for 270 yards. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's kind of par for the course for the Browns. It just seems like when they tend to thrive when people don't really give them any credit and when things are low, So I would say this is definitely a must-win early in the year. You don't want to go 0-2, and then the vultures are already circling, and it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah,
But I do think that if they can get at least Conklin back at tackle, that would go a long way. Hopefully Watson looks a little better, looks a little more comfortable in the pocket. Hopefully they catch some balls for him. Hopefully Ford can break off some runs. Hopefully they make Trevor Lawrence's day hell. I'll say Browns win, not by a lot, but I'll say by a Dustin Hopkins field goal, which, by the way, he's the only player that did that you could say did well. I will give Dustin Hopkins all the credit in the world.
That's true until I saw who was the guy kicking the 70-yarders the other day? Was that?
Oh, Brandon Aubrey, yeah. The guy for the Cowboys, yeah.
Oh, that's right. It was him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Cowboys kicker. Yeah, that's right. That's what it was. Yeah, so, our kicker looks good until that guy's up there kicking, and then it's like, well, what the hell? How do they find these dudes? You know, that's like, oh my God. All right, now, so you're going by a field goal. I have 15 seconds. Here's what I'm going to tell you guys. I'm going to say Cleveland's going to win this game. I think it's going to be a boring fucking game. I think it's going to suck balls, but I think we're going to win it by like 2 points. And I think we're going to end it. And I think next podcast we're going to be like, well, we want an ugly one, but I'll take it. All right, that's what I think is going to happen. All right. I want to get to Larry the Wolf. We got 5 minutes left in the show. I want to give him the whole 5 minutes. I want to do this. I want to do the book thing. Yeah, at the end of the show, dude. This is your time to shine. I mean, dude, eventually I'm gonna have a song for this episode. So let's.
Oh, hey, I love that new intro.
We'll do a little intro. Oh. You
guys know. Well, thank you for not putting me on the spot with a prediction because I'm not doing it anymore this year.
No more predictions.
You guys are all my pals, and I don't want to put any jinxes out there. I've been jinxing the Jets since I'm 8 years old, so I don't want to jinx the Browns on you guys.
All right, cool.
Go both teams. So I showed you a few weeks ago, Eric. What I like to do is I like to do show and tell once in a while. So I like to pull something out from my archives of old junk that maybe you guys care about a little bit. So in 71, they used to do these things. You go to the gas station and you'd get the booklet for like 99 cents or $1.50 or whatever. And then you get little packets and you get stickers of the players. But I showed a few weeks ago, the 71 was rough because it had Earl Morrall on the cover, but there were they didn't have licensing for the helmet emblems. So it had a blank white helmet on it. Didn't look right.
Yeah.
This is the 72 season one. And they had improved it by then. And if you guys remember, and of course you've got Lamar Hunt and what's his name? John Mackey was doing the Players Union. It's a long time ago. 72 season, the perfect season for the friggin' Dolphins.
I was 2 years old.
So you get these.
I wasn't born yet.
Yeah, I know you guys. I know, Jet. I'm old. What can I tell you? I got the system great football because I'm old. So there's my Cleveland Browns stamp section isn't all that robust.
Yeah, dude, I'm not impressed.
I do have who is here? Like, unfortunately, I got to put glasses on. Doug Deacon on there when he's only 23 years old. Must be
God, dude,
Gene Hickerson, funny. Jim Houston, Walter Johnson, great player. Mike Phipps was your starting quarterback then. Now, of course,
sort of.
That's funny.
Yeah, a Jet team. It's only two removed from having.
You got a lot more Jets than Browns. I noticed there.
I was. Hey, you got to remember they were only coming 2 years, 3 years off of a Super Bowl win at that time, and they had Namath. But the guy who I have on here that's really, Namath was my first favorite, but I was too young for his first 3-4 years in the league. My first favorite player that I followed for his entire career was the great John Riggins.
Oh,
he spent his first 5 years with the Jets, and he came out with the mohawk and everything, and he was a total rebel.
That's awesome.
Great guy. That's how bad they were. They let John Riggins go away.
Yeah, and
but
then he
what's
became a Hall of
funny
Famer.
is you see some strange things, like the great Deacon Jones playing for the Chargers. Right?
Oh,
there.
Yeah, that's something.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
That's like seeing Namath in the Rams or Johnny Unitas in the Chargers, or who was the other?
Montana in a Kansas City uniform.
Yeah, but at least he made it. He made a good run.
He went to the Super Bowl with them, didn't he? Didn't he go to the Super Bowl?
No, but he made a
championship.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
He lost to the Bills.
You have your thing in the back where you fill in, you follow the season.
That's why we have Dan
records
Gilles
with a pen, and you make them, and you have the brackets. It was very simple, and of course, the damn Dolphins won that. That was their perfect season. So that's my show and tell for the week. It was a lot of fun back then doing this instead of fantasy stuff. And I didn't use Scotch tape. I used glue so they're not all corroded and falling out of the book like the other one I showed you.
Nice. A professional job right there for stickler. You're a good stickler, they said. Well, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Every week we're going to have you pull another year out. We want 73 next year or next week.
I'll pull out something out of the archive. I don't be anything. They only made those for a few years. They were a lot of fun though, collecting those things. You got to learn other players around the league, and it was just fun trying to collect and fill it all. Like I will tell you, the team that's impressive in here is the era of the Oakland Raiders. They had arguably the greatest offensive line for about 9 years ever assembled, because for 9 years straight they had no less than 3 Hall of Fame players. Art Shell, Gene Upshaw, Jim Otto, Bob Brown. That's 4 Hall of Fame guys all on the same offensive line.
Wow.
And there's no wonder why Darryl LaMonica, who stunk in Buffalo, I know I'm going way back, and then came to the Oakland Raiders and was suddenly Superman. He stunk for 6 years. They had 4, and then when Stabler came in, okay, they lose Bob Brown, he retires, but then they add Rich Castor. You got 3 Hall of Fame linemen plus a Hall of Fame tight end. I mean, they had an unstoppable
Cliff Branch.
Yep. But it just goes to show to what all we're talking about earlier. If you assemble and you invest in your offensive line, you can put the Raiders did it they did it with LaMonica, the Stabler, to Plunkett, who was also a journeyman. And they just went because they had this tremendous 9-10-year run of arguably the best offensive line ever assembled. The Steelers had a good line, but
it really is everything.
Oh, it was again 4 Hall of Fame players, not 30 years later Hall of Fame guys. Upshaw and Art Shell, and Bob Brown and Otto were all, within their first 5 years they went in. They were great players, spectacular players.
Yeah. Hopefully next week is a different week. Hopefully we're having a better discussion about this team. This was it was a rough week. It's week 1 though, and anything can happen week 1. And we all been around now for a long time and watch enough Browns to know that it could turn around in a heartbeat. So I'm just hoping that's what happened. It was just a fluky thing. God help us all.
Nice.
Metalheads against animal abuse. We all.
Yeah. We got some people eating people's pets down in Springfield, Ohio. It's not cool.
I know. I'm hearing about
it. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
That's
there's people saying that's not happening, Dan.
Yeah, right. It's totally happening.
Yeah. Just like the water's good in Flint.
Yep.
Oh.
That's another urban legend, right?
We need to have a political podcast that'll just follow this one and then just go right into it. All right.
Sounds
all right, everybody. We're done. We're gonna go. But it was a fun week. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out, everybody.
Great to be with you guys.
Yeah.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Ooh, ooh.